Hello and welcome to School Counseling Notes. I just wanted to share from my experience things that I wish somebody told me as I was getting into this whole school counseling world. Because you go to school and you graduate, but there's so many things that change or look different once you actually start working as a school counselor. So I'm just going to be talking about from experience as a elementary or middle school counselor. So if you're in high school, I do not have experience with that as of yet. So these are kind of things that I have thought and made a list of definitely must know and must do for the beginning of the year. So what to do when you're starting your new job and it's the beginning of the year. So as a counselor, what I do is just find out your responsibilities. At every school, at every district, there are different responsibilities that go along with being a school counselor. For example, the questions that you might need to ask would be, am I in charge of 504 plans? Am I in charge of ESOL compliance paperwork? Gifted, and you might be being the gifted coordinator for the school, or maybe another thing that usually falls in guidance department is the interventions and running the interventions. Here in Florida, well, in my district, we call it MTSS, multi-tier systems of support, but it might be called differently in different districts. So just ask if you're the chairperson for the interventions, or if you are the chairperson for the child study team, or in other district might be called differently, but it's pretty much the team between you as a counselor, the social worker, possibly the psychologist, and the ESC resource teacher, or maybe the reading teacher, and then together you meet with parents to come up with a problem-solving meeting that will help the students be better in school. So that's kind of what you do in those type of meetings. So just ask if you're in charge of those. Testing is a very, very big one. Just ask if you are the testing coordinator, because if you are, good luck. What else? Some of the other things that have been adding to me lately based on Florida statutes and just trying to be more cognizant and reach out to our most at-risk kids, which is the LGBT community. Are you the liaison for the school for the LGBT? Just pretty much, are you the advocator for those students who are struggling with everything that comes along with sometimes being from the LGBT community? Are you in charge of the child abuse and safety? In Florida, there's a new statute where we have to comply with the Monique Burr, so that we can teach all students about the dangers of abuse and child trafficking and sex trafficking and all those things, so that we empower students to know the risk and how to identify and what they can do to stay safe. So again, are you in charge of that? Another thing will be food bags. Another part of our job is to reach out to our most at-risk students. So that will be our homeless community, students who are struggling financially or in some type of financial need. Are you in charge of collaborating with the local food banks to have them come home with food bags for the weekend? Those are the typical things that fall under a school counselor umbrella, or just like school counselor role and responsibilities. So it's very important that you ask those questions. I wish somebody would have told me to ask those questions. Oh, a really big one is bullying. How does your school handle bullying? Because in previous schools, bullying will be more of an administrator type of responsibility, will fall more on the administration and the dean, or but sometimes it falls on the counselor for the investigations for bullying and the calling of the parents, and of course, as a counselor, we handle the victims and we educate them on how they can handle the situations better. But there's definitely a protocol for everything. So just ask if you're the one that is the head of those responsibilities. Another thing is, things that they don't tell you that you should ask. So I would recommend, crisis response. In school, they teach you, you're going to be dealing with suicide assessments and, students who are at risk for suicide and they're feeling depressed. But every district and even every state has different statutes, procedures, and laws as for how to take care of that process. So make sure that you're asking the district procedure for suicide, for child abuse. In Florida, we are mandated reporters. So just make sure that you know the guidelines of your district. For example, when I was in a different district, all I had to do is make my call. I didn't need to let anybody know about it. But in the district that I am now, I do have to let the administration know, just in case the child protective investigators show up at the school, they know why. So ask those questions. What is the procedure for child abuse reporting? What is the procedure for when there's a death in the school? Especially with this whole coronavirus, there is a big possibility that there might be maybe a teacher at your school that passes away. And I don't wish that on anybody, but there's a big possibility, and I wish somebody would have told me that also falls in a counseling responsibility, because even though it's kind of obvious, but when it happened to me, one of my students passed away, I did not know what was the protocol, what to do, because I am also in the process of, this was my student and the grieving. So it's important to know ahead of time, so that way when you're in that moment, even though you're grieving, you know what to do exactly, so that you can help everybody else in the school. For example, I had to write a letter to the students from the class. I had to bring the crisis team from the district to provide counseling services for the teacher and those students. So there's a big protocol for everything, so just make sure you ask about the crisis response and your role in that and what they expect from you. Another thing that you just need to start thinking about at the beginning is, what is the process to see the counselor? How do you want the students to reach you? In one of my schools, I used a Google page type of thing, so I remained anonymous, but they were middle schoolers and they all had laptops. So at any time during their classes, if they felt like they needed to talk to me, they just had to fill out that Google form. But now I'm in elementary, so I can't really ask a 4-year-old, 5-year-old to do it. So there's a different procedure for them if they want to see me. So it falls more on the teacher, like them letting the teacher know, and the teacher reaches out to me, or parents, can also request and figure out what hours and what type of services you're going to be able to provide. Individual counseling, small group, and large group. That is what falls, how we deliver our school counseling program. But how do you want it to work? When are your small groups going to happen? When are your large group going to happen? When are your social and emotional curriculum? How is it going to be delivered? Is it going to be classroom lessons, or is it going to be videos? Just all those little things. And what is the process if you as a counselor, we handle what we can, but what's within our area of expertise, but we oftentimes have to refer out to outside agencies, local counseling services, or school social worker, or school psychologist. So what is the process of, what does that look like? When is it the time to kind of refer and make those referrals? What is the appropriate time, and how does the psychologist want us to handle that? At the beginning of when I turned into my new school, those were one of the meetings that I had set up a meeting with your administrator, so that your what they expect from you. Set up a meeting with the people that you work close with, the school counselor, the school social worker, the school psychologist, just things like that. And again, these are just things I wish somebody told me before I started, and these are just things I picked up along the way, and I just want to share with you so that you have a better experience than I did. And the last thing I really want to emphasize is that there is a difference between state law, federal laws, state laws, and district procedures. So, for example, Florida passes laws, and our districts are the ones that set up the procedures of how they're going to comply with that law. And it can look very different from district to district. So, like I said, it's very important that you know, okay, so the law for complying with the whole child abuse Monique Burr statute, how does it look like in our district? Do we reach out to other agencies to come over and talk to our students about it, or is it the counselor that takes over? How does that look like? Do we have to send letters home about it? Just there are little details that the district procedures might or may not state that it will be good for you to know. When I was working in middle school, I needed to find out the law for sexting and bullying and harassing and cyberbullying. Like what does the law says, and what does my district says about it, and how we're supposed to handle it as a school, because they could be very different, a very different way of handling it, and it's just very important that you know. So I'm just hoping that everything that I taught in this video can help you, but the most important thing is to be there for your students, especially the most at-risk ones, and the rest you can figure out along the way. All right, until next time. If you really enjoyed this video, just please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more of these videos to come. Please comment down below if there's anything that I forgot to mention or something that you would like me to talk more about. I would love to share with you. And until next time, bye!